Do you know what happened 75 years ago today? 156,000 soldiers went from England to the beaches of Normandy to change the tide of World War II. 3/4 of a century later, June 6, 1944 is still one of the most crucial days in modern history. The day I'm referring to is known as D-Day. The United States began to join the Allies in World War II after December 7th, 1941, which was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. By 1944, the Germans had fully occupied France, and along the Atlantic coast, they had begun to build a fortification from southern France all the way to northern Sweden, known as the Atlantic Wall. To make the invasion successful, there would need to be a lot of intelligent people in the right places to make it happen. Dwight Eisenhower was put in charge of Operation Overlord in January 1944. At this point in the war, the Allies had learned their lesson about storming enemy beaches without good preparation. So to prepare, they created this deception operation known as Operation Fortitude. So what is the big deception? Well, looking geographically at a map of Europe, the closest place to pass from England to France would be Pas de Calais. This is the easiest place to cross since it's the most narrowest part of the English Channel. Operation Fortitude also included a deception attack in Norway. This allowed the Allies to trick the Germans into thinking that there was multiple places of attack, leaving the surprise to them. The Allies would have to utilize many tactics to be able to reach their goals. So they hired on movie directors to help with this giant deception plan. These movie directors created an illusionary army known as the Phantom Army. These armies set up fake tanks, fake soldiers, and even had General George Patton be put in charge of it publicly. This was all used to keep the Germans guessing, so that the Allies had that element of surprise that they needed so badly. So moving on with the actual battle. The attack was planned to be on June 5th, 1944. But what happened was a storm rolled through, and it was not passable for the Allies to be able to go across the English Channel at this time. With the weather conditions bad, crossing was not worth the risk, despite the Allies needing this victory. Luckily, James Stagg notified Dwight Eisenhower that June 6th would actually be quite a clear day and would be the best day for attack. Eisenhower decided to go on with the attack on June 6th. By 6:30, there were already paratroopers and glide troops down behind enemy lines, and amphibious attacks were beginning to make a landing. There were 5 beaches that the Allies were targeting: Gold, Sword, Juneau, Utah, and Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach was where 2,000 American soldiers lost their lives. And by the end of D-Day, there was a total of 4,000 Allied casualties. A lot went missing and a lot were injured as well. But as the Allies won, we can kind of shed light on this victory. Because by the end of June, there was 326,000 soldiers that were on the beaches of Normandy. By the end of August 1944, the Germans were completely pulled out of northwest France and Paris was liberated. The significance of this day is that the Germans were obligated to divide their strength between the eastern and western fronts now. By spring of 1945, the Germans were forced to surrender to the Allied forces. June 6, 1944 was a day that altered the history of mankind. This day still has a direct impact on anyone that's alive, and that is worth recognizing. Let's take a moment to thank the people in the past who have allowed us to be here doing what we're doing right now. Not just for D-Day, but for every day that a person risked their lives to allow their people to continue to live and strive. Whenever anyone young, like myself, feels as if the world has treated them unfairly, why don't we take a moment to think about what our lives would be like if we were here 75 years ago? If we were being put on a boat and sent across the water into the unknown. What we know now is that without those people doing what they did, our world would be drastically different today. Thank you for watching. I am Dalton Haupt. This is the Real Truth Media giving a brief history of D-Day, and I'll real see you.